Welcome to this tutorial on report generation with FLIR Thermal Studio. I'm Paul Frisk with the Infrared Training Center here to help you get the most out of your reporting software. Now, Thermal Studio offers an array of features that allow you to process your infrared images, track trends in your thermal data, and create comprehensive inspection reports. This first introduction module will suggest what a well-defined report should contain. Describe the three different versions of the Thermal Studio suite. Review the installation and activation process of the software. Demonstrate the process of importing images from a camera, editing images, generating a report using one of the supplied sample templates, saving the report, recalling and editing the report. Why are reports so important? Reports reflect your expertise. It's what you get compensated for, whether it's from a supervisor or a paying client. Let's review some suggestions of what a well-designed report should include. The overall design of a report should be tailored to the type of inspection that was performed. Was it electrical, mechanical, building, or some other type? Meet the expectations of the person that will be reviewing your report. Make reference to any national or international guidelines and recommendations that were used during the scan. Their documentation need not to be included in the report. If mentioned, however, ensure that they were followed and note any exceptions if applicable. The report contents should be professional, well-organized, and consistent. Ensure the information contained in the report is relevant and understood by the client. For example, if the client does not understand measurement parameters such as emissivity, don't display them. This will only lead to confusion and possible time-consuming discussions. The analysis page should include a digital photo additional to the infrared image. Identification and location of the anomaly. A properly tuned image to clearly demonstrate the anomaly. The use of the proper number and type of measurement tools when applicable. Date and time of the image capture. Some operational procedures such as NFPA 70B may dictate additional contents or documentation, such as the thermographer's name and qualifications, camera model, manufacturer, and calibration date, the customer company name, address, contact person, the report date. If an anomaly severity is to be determined, the source of the classification should be included. Was it NETA, NFPA, or possibly customer supplied criterion? Any additional or environmental conditions that may affect the anomaly determination should be included, such as wind speed, current load versus design load. A product overview of the Thermal Studio suite can be found at this website link. 3 different versions of the software are available: Starter, Standard, and Professional. Standard and Professional are available on a paid subscription basis. Cost and version comparison can be found at these website links. Here is a summary of each of the features of the different versions. Please note that the starter version of the software does not possess all the features required to meet the previous suggestions for the contents of a well laid out report. Installing the software. Please note, Thermal Studio can only be installed on systems running the 64-bit version of Microsoft Windows 10 or higher. When receiving your license number, you should have received a link to download the software from. If you haven't, here's the link. There is only one downloadable exe file for all the versions. The software license will activate the appropriate version. Once you've downloaded the software, it is recommended that you extract from the zip file to install it. Once installed, you need to activate by filling in the required information and then selecting the Validate button. If at any time you need to move the software from one computer to the other, it must first be deactivated. Also note, subscription license numbers can be used to activate the software onto 2 computers concurrently. Information that will be displayed in the report may be affected by system settings. such as temperature and distance units, and more importantly, the cameras create date and time. Select the Settings cog at the top of the page. In the Language and Region tab, set the language you want to use the software in. Please note, Thermal Studio will not translate or interpret between one language and the other. Establish the units that you want the report to display in. You may have captured images on the camera in one set of units, and now your supervisor or your client would like to use a different set of units in the report. As mentioned earlier, the image create date and time will be important, so to ensure that that's properly displayed, please ensure that the time zone is set to camera local. Another recommended setting is to enable the auto associate photos. This is particularly important for cameras that create a separate digital camera photo from the infrared image. This will ensure that the images get auto-associated for the reports that require both the infrared and digital camera photo. Save the settings. When your camera is connected to your computer, or the camera's SD card is installed in your computer, this dialog box will pop up. The disk drive designation is going to be dependent on what peripherals are connected to your computer when you do this process. The download all inspections is used in the routing functionality of the camera and system. Routing will be discussed in a future module. We're going to import all the images from the camera. Selecting it brings up this dialog box. Delete images from camera after importing. I personally like it checked off so that I can verify that all the images from the camera have been successfully copied to my computer. I will then actually get onto the camera and use the delete all saved images options on the camera. Some of your images may have been stored on the camera in Ultra Max mode. That process only captures the image. Thermal Studio is required to process them. Having this checkbox on, the images will be processed as they're imported. The enhanced image resolution, i.e. Ultramax, will not affect any of the images that are not stored originally on the camera in Ultramax mode. Where the images get stored is going to be determined by this option. You can change it to whatever folder you wish on your computer. I'm going to leave it as the default, which is the Thermal Studio import. I press or select all import files. You'll notice the progress bar at the bottom of the screen. Once it's completed, this prompt gets displayed. Using the library function, I've navigated to the import folder. As we can see, the directory structure that's on the camera has not been copied to the computer. I'll navigate down to where the images are. The thumbnail display can be changed using one of these options. List currently medium icons. I prefer the very large icons. Editing an image is a simple process. We can simply left mouse button once and use the edit image function here on the right, or double left click and the image editor gets displayed. The image editor is a powerful tool to display and edit an infrared image. Thermal Studio will display the image as it was captured on the camera, including the color palette, parameters, and measurement tools, all of which can be modified after the fact if required. As mentioned earlier, thermal tuning may be required to highlight the thermal anomaly. This can be achieved by manually tuning the image by moving the slider bar as displayed here, or establishing specific values on my temperature scale. I'm just going to, for discussions, change this to 5 on the bottom, and let's change the top one to, say, 30. And the image gets painted accordingly. If I want to revert back to the auto mode, I will press the A button and it reverts back to the auto mode. Measurement tools can be modified by simply selecting the tool and making the appropriate modifications you'd like. For instance, in this case, I've resized box 1 and changed its position. I could also adjust the local parameters for the measurement tools. From the drop-down, I can add other measurement tools, including measurement tools that may not have been available on a particular camera model, such as the line. Please note that the polygon, magic wand, and polyline measurement tools are only available in the professional version of the software. Color palettes can be chosen by simply selecting them from the appropriate thumbnail. Images captured by FLIR cameras internally store the images in MSX mode, but display them in the mode the operator was using. We can now switch to, say, picture-in-picture or MSX. Thermal Studio Editor has a couple of interesting features when it comes to MSX modes. We can adjust the intensity of the photo on top of the infrared image. We also have the ability of adjusting the alignment of the photo on top of the infrared image. This feature may be extremely useful when it comes to using images from our fixed focus cameras. Let's revert back to our thermal-only display to discuss color distribution. Color distribution is simply a way the color palette is laid across the different data. It does not change the data, just how the data is displayed based on these options. We also have the ability of adjusting or adding isotherms or alarm temperatures. Some of these options are only available in the standard or professional version. Image rotation is not available in starter, nor is cropping, which we're going to discuss in a moment. We can rotate 90 degrees right, 90 degrees left, or 180 degrees. Adjusting a specific angle is only available in the Pro version. Cropping is only available in the Pro version as well. Once you're satisfied with all the changes you've made, you can save the image on top of the original image or save as a different name. For instance, I'm going to save this as a new image and save it. Once it's saved, I can go back. I'm going to save these changes, and if I go down to new image, we'll see that all the changes that I made have now been stored with that particular image. Once you've made the changes to all the images, you now would like to create a report. Simply select the images you would want to include in the report. In this case, I'm selecting all of them, and use the To Report option. When Thermal Studio is installed, some default templates are included. I'm going to use the Thermal Photo Detail and select that particular template. Once the report has been generated, we can then scroll down through the different pages and see the contents as contained within each of the images. We can change the order of the pages by selecting the image, right-clicking it, and in this case moving it down. Let's move it down one more, or moving it up. As discussed earlier, there might be information you do not wish to have displayed to your client. Simply select the table and right-click on the row and remove the row. So I am now removing emissivity. I'm now going to remove reflected temperature, and maybe external optics information is inappropriate, particularly for this image. I would have to do that image by image, and then once I'm done, I can then save the report. I can save the report in either ATR file, so I'm going to do that and just leave it, and let's name it sample report, and deposit it wherever I like. I'll just put it back into a different folder, and that folder is going to be, for this purpose, say reports. Okay, and save it there. The other option is to save the report actually as printed as a PDF. PDF files can easily be emailed to a client or supervisor. The ATR file can only be opened by people that have the Thermal Studio software. I recommend the Microsoft Print to PDF option for creating the PDF file, and I'm just going to call this sample PDF report. And it's going to be saved that way. Once I'm done, I can go back. I can close this. I'm just going to exit this. I can now open up that sample report at a later date and make some other changes. For instance, maybe I want to, for some reason, edit this image and resize the box, and maybe add a other measurement tool. And this is now in the saved report. When I save this image, it's only going to save it internally into the report and not the disk copy version of the software. So I've done that, and you will now notice that in the measurements tab, we have the temperature of the box and the spot meter. Thank you.